Hi and welcome to this time-lapse tutorial of how to draw an Italian water dog. I was asked by a member of my Patreon channel to do an Italian water dog tutorial, and I must say it was a breed that I wasn't familiar with, and I've never drawn one before until now, obviously. So it was really lovely when I looked it up on Google and saw this beautiful curly-haired dog looking back at me. They are an absolutely stunning breed, and from what I read, they're lovely dogs as well. So this one was really exciting. I chose to do a puppy because there's those gorgeous little tight puppy curls. So it's a really good demonstration of this sort of fur for if you're doing similar sort of dogs, something like a cockapoo, like a poodle type breed, when you get those really tight curls. So this is a really good demonstration of how to do those sorts of dogs as well. So what I loved about this photograph was the beautiful light on it and the way the photographer had processed the colours. So there's a lot of pink, there's a lot of red, there's a lot of purple, there's a lot of blue. What I always say is black is never black, white is never white, and you'll hear a lot of artists saying that. And what I mean by it is I'm not just drawing this black brown dog with browns and greys with whites and blacks. It's not those real sort of bog standard colours. As you'll see as I go along through this, yes, there are greys in there, yes, there are blacks, browns in there, but there's all sorts of beautiful colours. I mean, look, that was a bright pink pencil that just went in there. So there's all these beautiful sort of lavender type greys and these sepia tones and bright fluorescent pinks. And then as we go across the face, you'll see all these beautiful like cobalt type blues. And it's wonderful to be able to capture those lovely curly hairs by focusing on where the light and the dark tones are, where those tonal values are with the beautiful colours. It's such a joy to work on, and I love drawing dogs like this. And I think quite often when you're first starting out and you maybe get a commission for a curly haired dog, you look at it with absolute dread and you think, oh no, like how on earth am I going to draw this dog? And actually, it's just about breaking it down into exactly what you can see. You don't want to be drawing what you think your brain is seeing, what you think your brain is processing. You want to break it down into this line is here, this line is here, this section relates to this section, I can see this shape. And you want to break it down to those very simple elements of exactly what you can see. And obviously with a dog like this, you're going to have those darker hairs towards the root, which will also help make this more three-dimensional. And then you'll have more of the lighter highlights towards the top, where the viewer can see it more prominently. And you can see as I'm going in and putting these colours in, the lighter I go with those hairs, the more prominent they start to look and the more that they are jumping and leaping off of the page, because those highlights really make them come to life. But you do obviously have to have those darker tones in there for them to play off of. And one of the things I love about curly haired dogs, I'm just going in around that eye and I'm just putting in some loose hairs going around that eye. And that is one of the things that makes these long haired dogs really, really come to life. When you start to get those, like what I call scraggly bits, when you start to get the scraggly bits going off the side of the head and you get them coming over the eyes and you get these loose hairs around, it starts to look less like something forced, like a jigsaw puzzle or a cardboard cutout or a sticker. It starts to gain life, and it starts to look a lot more realistic because of those gorgeous loose hairs that you're including. So that is one of the things that really does help with these sorts of dogs. And I drew a different dog, a similar curly hair sort of dog recently. And the owner wasn't keen on having hairs over the eyes. They wanted to see their eyes, which is perfectly understandable. They have beautiful eyes. But I just felt that not having the hair over the eye made it not pop off the page quite as much as it perhaps could have done had there been more hairs overlapping. So you can see now going into the middle of the face just how many colours are in there. That was a lot of purple and a lot of blue, and I think most of this sort of middle section going over to the right is a lot of blue tones. So you've got the dark blue, the light blue, but there's also those purple sort of tones in there. And then using the greys and the violet oxides and the sepias and the raw umbers to all make this sort of pop off of the page. So that's what's using those tones that are underneath and then bringing them forward to that sort of very top layer and making them absolutely pop. So you need to have that depth underneath and you need to have those colours layered underneath for you then to have this top layer to be able to work properly, because this would not work without all of that work that you've done underneath. But you can see what I mean about, the shapes and the sections just all interacting together, and then it all starts to come together and make a whole picture. So I hope this has been helpful. If you do want to draw along in real time, then do check out my Patreon channel. The reference photo is there, and I talk about this in real time so you can draw along with me. I list all of the reference materials I've used. If you like this video, please do hit like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and I will see you for part 2 next week. Take care, guys. Bye.